Rated T for Teen.
When you're Brock Lesnar, you gotta watch your back. Chris Benoit tried to take me out in the Elimination Chamber.
You're nothing, Lesnar.
And that punk John Cena
I run this terrain. Here comes the pain.
came after me backstage. But no matter what they do, no matter how hard they try, there is nothing and no one that can stop me.
You and me, bra and panties match right now.
I win.
No, Brock, we all win. Smackdown, here comes the pain.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the second episode of Izzy's Retro Video Game Reviews. I might have to change that title because it's a mouthful, but for right now, that's what we're going for. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the first episode where I reviewed NBA Street. If you haven't checked that out, please do. But for this episode, we are going to jump into not only one of my favorite wrestling games, but it is widely regarded as the greatest wrestling video game of all time. That is debatable, but let's talk about it anyway, man. And of course, I'm talking about WWF Smackdown. Here Comes the Pain. So, Smackdown Here Comes the Pain dropped on October 27th, 2003. So that was, for me, that was sophomore year of high school, man. And I remember just, I couldn't wait to play it, man. They had plastered it all over WWE programming at the time. Raw, SmackDown, and at that time, you know, you had Velocity and you had Sunday Night Heat, and it was everywhere. And of course, everybody remembers that I guess you can call it iconic at this point. Commercial where you see Brock Lesnar walking around backstage at a WWE event, and then you know he runs into wrestlers like Chris Benoit and John Cena, and you know in between him saying, "Oh, what do you call it? Chris Benoit tried to take me out in the Elimination Chamber," or John Cena attacked me backstage, and then you know at the and you see Tori Wilson, and she challenges Brock Lesnar to a bra and panties match, and of course Brock wins, and then you hear the voiceover announcer say, "No, Brock, we all win," and then you know the theme to SmackDown plays in the background. The theme to SmackDown at the time, I should say, plays in the background, and man, it was just great, and my first memories of playing the game is, man, like as soon as I saw that it was coming out, I immediately rushed to my local Blockbuster. Hey kids, you know, if you're watching this and you don't know what Blockbuster is, look it up, man. But yeah, no, I rushed to my local Blockbuster and, you know, tried to rent a copy because I couldn't really afford to buy it at the time, you know, so tried to rent a copy, and of course, on the first day and, you know, for about a month straight after that, it was all rented out. And I was completely bummed because, you know, my friends that were in high school that played video games, they had a copy of it, was telling me how great it was, and I'm like, man, I gotta freaking play this thing, because you know, fear of missing out. But man, what do you call it? So there's a funny story behind how I actually got to first play it. So I used to always go to Blockbuster every Friday night to rent video games, and then you know, we'd take it back that Monday. So I went there one Friday night, and of course, wasn't on the shelf. I was asking my buddies Chris and Tyrone, who worked there at the time, you know, when is there gonna be another copy? And they're like, oh, you know, you're not the only one asking for it. You know, it's of course it's a widely popular game, man. So I was talking to them. I had rented something I had picked something else out. I don't remember what it was. And then I was talking to them up front, and some lady walks in. Some lady walks in, and she returns it. So then I'm like, oh my god, that looks like a video game. Let's see what it is. I'm like, and then what do you call it? So she puts it in the return slot, and then my buddy Tyrone takes it out of the return slot. He goes, oh, SmackDown, you've been looking for it. The lady just came back with it. And I'm like, yo, let me get it. And then he's like, no, man, I want to play it first. And I'm like, nah, you don't even play wrestling video games. Let me just get it. So then I ended up getting a copy of it, and I ended up getting to play it that weekend. And boy, was it worth the wait, man. As soon as you turn it on, man, you hear you see the actual SmackDown opening, man. For that time, the theme to SmackDown was called "I Want It All." It was kind of like this, rap and rock mix, and it sounded really good. If you have the Uncaged albums that they just released on Spotify, I believe it's on Uncaged Volume 4. So yeah, you can definitely hear it there. But man, so the previous two games, SmackDown Shut Your Mouth and SmackDown Just Bring It, the openings were a CGI. But this was the actual SmackDown opening. This was the actual show opening that you would see every week if you watch SmackDown. So that was pretty cool to see that. And then what do you call it? You would have as soon as you press the start button from the menu screen, you would have like different CGI caricatures of the wrestlers, moving around on the menu screen. You had exhibition, you had season mode, you had Royal Rumble, you had elimination championships, all different kinds of match types, man. And one distinct thing I remember is they switched up the grapple system for the gameplay system for this particular iteration of the SmackDown series. So before, it was kind of like you only had one type of grapple, and then a limited your signature and your finisher. Your movesets were very limited. But for this one, you had 4 different grapple types. You had your weak grapple, you had your strong grapple, you had your submission grapple, and then you had your signature grapple. And then in that particular when you were in a particular grapple, you press up and down on the D-pad, and then you would get like a different move associated with that particular grapple that you were doing. So it added a new layer of strategy for gameplay, and it just was awesome, man. I remember, just it kind of gave me No Mercy vibes, which I will be doing a retro review on. That'll be in a future episode. So yeah, man. I remember. Then you had, the roster. The roster was pretty current at the time. A couple of missing people, like Jeff Hardy and The Big Show, because they had gotten released right before the game. So yeah, man. Other than that, the roster was pretty current. You had Brock, you had Goldberg, you had Hollywood Rock, which was my favorite my favorite gimmick of the Rock's. Heel Rock, 2003 Rock, can't beat it. Some of the best stuff of his career. You had did I say Goldberg already? Okay, yeah. So you had Goldberg, you had Brock, you had Batista, you had Cena, you had Orton, Triple H, Goldust was in there. Just a whole Eddie and Chavo. Just a whole slew of superstars to choose from. And then you had the ladies. You had Tori, you had Stacy, you had Lita, Jackie, Trish. Just everybody was in there, man. And then you had your legends. You had Brett, you had Roddy Piper, you had Jimmy Snuka, you had Sergeant Slaughter. Oh man, just the roster was just stacked, man. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Um, yeah. So, man, just so many fond memories. And like I said before, that was the debut of the Elimination Chamber match in a video game, uh, which had so the match itself had debuted about 2 years about um, a year prior to it appearing in SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. So it debuted at Survivor Series in 2002 in Madison Square Garden. I was there for the first Elimination Chamber match. A match where Shawn Michaels won the World Heavyweight Championship, and wore those infamous brown pants that were only worn once and never to be seen again. Thank God. And Triple H had went to the hospital after that match. So very brutal, very taxing match. But as for the video game version of the Elimination Chamber, you can pretty much do anything with it. You can jump off the pods. You could jump off the scale the cage part of it, and a very cheesy tactic that people would use, especially in especially if you're playing with your friends. I know a bunch of my friends did this. They would take you on the outside and slam you on the steel and then pin you on the inside. Because if you take somebody on the outside of the chamber and then do damage on the outside, it does double damage to what you would normally do inside the ring. And another good thing that I liked about the game was weight detection. So basically, what that meant was, if you have a match like Rey Mysterio taking on Brock Lesnar, you're not gonna just if you're using Rey Mysterio, you're not gonna just lift Brock Lesnar up and just throw him around. Yeah, obviously there's a huge weight difference, and the game recognized that. So yeah, it took a little bit of strategy if you were playing with a smaller superstar against a bigger superstar, and that was pretty cool. It's like working a match itself. The smaller guys don't just throw the bigger guys around. And then on the contrary, if you were using a bigger superstar against a smaller superstar, you would also do a lot more damage with even your basic moves than you would if they were facing a superstar of normal size. Yeah, and what else do I remember? So yeah, no, and then you had the Hell in a Cell match. You can throw your opponent off it and through it, and you can jump off it. It was just pure mayhem and pure fun. And the only, I wouldn't even call it a downside, because it was one of those things where it was a small price to pay for what you got. So the thing about this game is, unlike its predecessors, SmackDown Just Bring It and SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, there was no commentary in this game. But like I said, that's a small price to pay for what you're getting. And also the blood mechanics, man. In previous games, if you would bust somebody open, it would just be all over. And that would be that. But in SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain. Like, you would see the blood on the wrestler's chest and face, and it would just add a whole other element of realism to it, which is what I enjoyed, man, so much. And you had all your arenas and all your arenas were in there, the pay-per-view arenas, you know, and back then that was the era of unique sets. So you had your Armageddon set, you had your Royal Rumble set, you had your WrestleMania set, WrestleMania 19, I believe they used for that. Man, so it's just awesome. It was just an awesome game, man, and so many memories, and including the what do you call it? Then your season, you can walk around backstage and interact with your GMs. You know, Stephanie McMahon and Eric Bischoff. So that was really cool. And Eric Bischoff and Stephanie McMahon were also on the roster as playable characters. Just oh man, I can go on and on forever talking about everything that I loved about SmackDown. Here comes the pain, but you know. You know, I often get asked which one do you like better, you know, SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, or No Mercy, and you can't really choose because they were both great and iconic in their own right. So for me, it's 1A and 1B, and they're both interchangeable, man. So yeah, man, that was my memory of SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain. Man, it just makes me want to go out and whip up my PlayStation 2 and just go play it, man. Again, which I might do over the holiday. So yeah, that is gonna do it for this episode of Izzy's Retro Game Reviews, man. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff, and don't forget to hit that notification button so you don't miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.